PRI is a place where you can find just about any engine component you want. Almost, but there's always going to be that weird need, that a little bit out of the envelope requirement that requires a custom part, and that's why we're here with Tom Lieb in the Scat booth to talk custom cranks. You guys have a very cool program.
Well, the problem is that the standard crankshafts have tooling. They have a forging die, they have a casting pattern, and so the shape comes out, and it only has so much material to give you a crank that has whatever the stroke and rod journals and so forth are. So if you've got an engine application where you want something that's out of that envelope, then of course we have to make a billet crank, which is a round bar of whatever size we need to do whatever you need. So we make custom cranks for, small, medium, and large. Our capacity, the smallest cranks that we make are like for the Porsches, 4-cylinder Porsche, which is about 12 inches long. And then we go all the way up to the John Deere tractor pull. The 619 John Deere tractor is 43 inches in length, it's 10 inches in diameter, and the piece of steel weighs 1,100 pounds. So we can make everything in between, and if you've got an engine application that either is a brand new thing or something that you're redoing for whatever reason, to cubic inch limit or something, then you need a custom crank, we can make it.
And so one of the examples you gave me earlier was somebody who wants to push the envelope on just your normal big block build just a little further than the factory crank allows.
Well, this morning a gentleman came in and he's building a big block, and I'm not sure exactly what he's up to, but he wanted a crank that was just over 3 inches in stroke. And of course our forgings, as well as the casting patterns, the shortest stroke that we can make is about 3.5 inches. So if we tried to make it out of the casting or the forging, obviously we'd be cutting air and he'd be missing something. He'd have trouble putting a rod on it. So he has no choice but to go to a billet crank, because obviously with the round material, the material's there and we just cut it, and that's that.
That's that. You make it sound simple, but I bet it's a little bit more involved. What do I need to bring you as far as drawings to get started on a custom crank?
Well, we have people bring us all sorts of things. Most of the time they give us an application, and most of the time it's something that is already out there that we have information on. And they give us, again, their changes. So we already have the basics. And of course we're dealing with a particular block, so the bore spacing, the main spacing, and all of that we already have. And then if it's a change of stroke or change of rods or whatever, then we can take it from there. A lot of times we get antique people that they've got a $2 million car, it's got a broken crank, and of course the manufacturer went out of business in 1938 or something. So it's a little tough to go to the parts department and pull one out. So they bring us two pieces and they ask for a one-piece crank. So we take it from there and we measure it, and we make the drawings, we make the process drawings. And then of course, because most of the cranks have about 20 operations in them, and as automated as we are, it still is in and out of the machine 20 times, and we have to do all the drawings, we have to do all the programs for 8 or 9 machines to get the material off that piece of bar so that the customer gets what his expectations are. So
yeah, so not just late model and high performance, but even old vintage stuff that's hard to find. Now, when you're getting a full-on custom billet crank, obviously you're going to be building a rotating assembly out of that. Can you package that all together?
Sure, we can. If they need rods, and of course we don't make pistons, but we have the various piston manufacturers, and we know the forging dies that they have, so we can match that up for them and give them a complete assembly, balance it, do whatever. Match up the bearings if they need special bearings. We can do the whole thing. Takes a little time, but that's what we do.
There we go. Well, if you're the only option to get something you can't find anywhere else, I guess time is something you got to spend.
Well, yeah, that's true. I mean, the problem is that everybody has a passion for their car, and they walk out into the shop and they see it sitting there, they get kind of antsy. So it takes a while, but there's a lot of effort that goes into it.
Well, Tom, I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there with either unique custom builds or maybe vintage builds, and they're hearing this and thinking you might be the solution to my problem. Where can they get more information online?
Okay, if you go online, it's www.scatenterprisescrankshafts.com. And you can go to Crank Tech on there also. And they'll get all the different websites. But with Crank Tech, if you send us all the information, we've got about 4,000 different cranks in the system now. And if it's a variation of something that we've already done, then it makes the job easier. If not, send us a picture and some information about what you want, and we'll take a look at it, and off we go from there. That's the beginning.
Off we go, and that's the beginning. Sounds good to me. Tom, thanks for sharing the custom cranks project and program with us. Definitely super interesting. Stay tuned. There's a lot more coming your way from PRI.